Titans try to create and they make amalgamations. Yeah. Think about the fucking Shaw cleansing artifact in the Veil of Eternal Blossoms that we use in the Siege of Orgrimmar raid to try to cleanse us of our pride. And it creates a literal fucking Shaw monster that we have to kill. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't even work. Our pride is just blinding us from what's gonna happen anyway, because Terran Zoo chased fucking Garrosh into there, letting his pride blind him and becoming the corruption that would allow it to manifest anyway. It didn't matter. There's no containing the Shaw of pride. Try to do so, to try to purge it out of things is like really not a good idea, not how it should be handled. Like, we should be coming to terms with our emotions and trying to understand them very deeply and like not resent our own emotions, or like, you know, try to get rid of the confusion of emotions, having better emotional clarity, you know, so to speak. And the Titans are not very good at that. The Titans do not seem to exhibit, any of them really, of very good examples of emotional clarity. And perhaps in time I will be proven wrong, but in multiple instances all throughout Chronicle, the Titans seem to be very, very emotional. Whether they're getting angry, or whether it's an expression of love, or whether it's an expression of fear, or whether it's an expression of, you know, whatever. Like, they have a lot of emotion attributed to them. It's not just Sargeras. Agrimar does the same thing. Aeonar is the same way. You know, Aman'Thul seems almost more like apathetic and kind of depressed than anything else. Why is he like that? Well, maybe it's because all of the Titans in some capacity are emotional expressions of something else. Maybe they're emotional expressions of Azeroth. Elune is also very emotional. Sargeras, if he is Anshe, yet again, very emotional. Emotion is a very, very big thing in the Warcraft universe, and it's interesting because, like, it's not like gods and other mythologies aren't emotional, but they just live so fucking long that I feel like gods just kind of become avatars of said emotion at like a level that like humans don't. Like, humans have a lot of different clashing emotions, mortals have a lot of different clashing emotions and stuff. They kind of get a good mix of everything. Seems like maybe the gods are kind of individually bound to certain emotions, and I think Aeonar would be like envy and spite. I think Sargeras would be like fear and rage, if not truly courage and, you know, something else, you know? Maybe he's not supposed to be a rage lord. Maybe they're not all supposed to be out of emotional balance, but maybe that's an expression of what Azeroth is, something that's in deep emotional disarray. And I think that's what the War Within is primarily going to tackle. Very deep emotional disarray and harmony, and how you find that harmony. Big, big themes, man. I think it has been for a while, so. Passion instead of rage. And this is where, yes, so if you guys want to know the answer to this, that's such a good call, Jay.
Thank you, Chef.
Chronicle Volume 1, Elemental Affinities and Alignments. It actually says the positive and negative alignments of certain elements. And with fire, it is passion. It is passion. One of the negative ones is fury. I think it's passion and... Fire, positive trait, passion, negative trait, fury. Water, positive trait, tranquility. Negative trait, indecisiveness. If that doesn't scream Elune. And Sargeras, I don't know what does. Passion and fury, tranquility and indecisiveness. I love that, because the reason why I think Elune is, it's the same type of, I guess there's a hint of indecision, but also I think freedom that exists in moments where she makes like Tyrande choose. So one could take that as like indecision. She can choose. She chooses. And I think that when you look at these traits, at least for me anyway, it's kind of easy to attribute them to certain characters aligned with certain elements. So when I read this Earth one, you know, I'm going to be thinking of Khaz'goroth, you know, as well as fire. Because, you know, Khaz'goroth being, you know, shaper and forger of mountains and magma and stuff like that, fire and earth together. So he'd be passion, fury, stability, stubbornness, that type of thing. Fire and spirit would be Sargeras, which would be passion and fury and bravery and naivete. So Sargeras, I think, is very passionate and very brave. I do think that. But I think that his fury is his downfall sometimes, is in a way that's anger, right? And sometimes he's a little naive. perhaps. And that can be his downfall, right? Worth repeating, in Magic the Gathering, each color of magic represents different emotions and ideals. Red magic is rage and recklessness, but it's also passion and creativity, so something like that. Then we have Earth, like I said, stability and stubbornness. So I think Fire and Earth for Khaz'goroth. He's passionate and seeks stability. I think that's expressed through the Earthen. I think that he could be a little stubborn in trying to keep his creations around. Maybe trying to put them in stasis instead of just having them be destroyed. That's a little bit of a stubborn act. And I could see his fury being relevant in terms of, like, the volcanic activity, the rage of the mountains, that type of stuff, but I feel like I'm kind of stretching it conceptually there. You have Air, which is cunning and madness. And then Decay, which is efficiency and ruthlessness. Decay is something I've always associated with death. Death and decay, first of all. I think Aenar potentially being a being of spirit makes her potentially very brave, but also naive. I think she also could be a being of decay at the same time, though. Something that's very efficient and ruthless. You could put spirit and water for someone like Elune maybe as well. So there's elemental duality. Many shamanic cultures have discovered that the elements can influence a variety of emotional states. For this reason, mortals often associate the elements with different feelings, both positive and negative. And this is something that's reflected in the stories out of folk and fairy tale of Azeroth. It says that Anshe and Musha became very close with the elements. And Anshe became particularly skilled in wielding fire and became friends with the mountains and the earth. And Musha was particularly skilled at wielding water and became friends with, the tides and the skies. So Golganeth. So I think that, personally, there is still a possibility. There's still an opportunity here for Khaz'goroth and Golganeth, as they are the most elementally aligned titans in the Titan Pantheon and have hardly been expressed outwardly through the game's history so far, at least in terms of their own words or anything like that. I think that there's a very good chance that those two have a potential to kind of be allies, or kind of maybe be in the middle ground between the Titans, which represent most order, which I think is Aman'Thul and Norgannon, and the Titans that represent most creation and the elements, in this case, which I think would be potentially beings, if they're even Titans, Sargeras, which is Anshe, and Musha, which is Elune, which are both also elementally aligned. So, and those elements we know are very deeply rooted with Azeroth. Azeroth, one of the first things she does is makes friends with the elements and loves them and creates an amazing relationship with them. And from that basically comes everything else. And that's how she shaped and did everything on the world, allegedly. So if it was Azeroth doing that, then, that's pretty crazy. I think that says a lot about those connections and those characters.